You're looking at Lying with the Wolf, a ink and pen drawing on paper by Kiki Smith. So with Kiki, you have to look at her personal story because her art tends to be very personal in meaning. At least that's what many people believe. She had a sister in the 1980s who died of AIDS, just in the midst of the AIDS epidemic, and when we did not know a great deal about that disease. So that was definitely something that impacted her. And then around the same time, her father dies. So this sense of loss and the human body and its frailty is absolutely something that you could apply here in terms of context, that very personal kind of connection to death and the body. And then this piece as a whole was part of a series on women and their relationship with animals that you've seen in literature, just stories from different genres and different mediums. We're talking like folk tales, biblical stories, fairy tales, stories from indigenous cultures that are handed down through oral traditions. And, think of like Red Riding Hood, where you have Red and the wolf. And then there's another figure who's known as the patron saint of Paris, named Saint Genevieve, who is similar to like Saint Francis of Assisi, who could communicate and connect with animals. She had that same ability, and she is also specifically known for being able to domesticate wolves. So again, when you're thinking of context, go the very personal route with the deaths in her family, particularly of her sister who died young. And then also think about just all of the stories of women and animals, people and animals in particular, but that I think can also be applied here in this series that she did. So first of all, the thing that stands out to me the most when I look at a Kiki Smith painting or drawing is the delicacy of it. It's the thin lines, the fine detail that she creates here with the wolf in his hair. It helps communicate the, I think, feeling of being vulnerable a bit. But yet at the same time, our female here is flipping the narrative of the typical predator-prey idea where women are the prey and the animal being more symbolic of any kind of predator who could overpower a female. And so, you've got the woman here who is tamed or controlled the animal. She has her arms around it, and it seems very content with that. So the wolf kind of comes across as a companion and tame, and that definitely is not typical to the traditional stereotypical depiction of women being that more prey kind of presentation. But that being said, her body is delicate. So if we take this with a look, with her sister's story in our minds, you could say that this could represent her sister and the wolf representing the disease. And she's embracing it because, not that she wants to, if you look at her face, it's quite sad looking that, there's nothing that she can do. At the time in the 80s, AIDS was a death sentence, and there was nothing that really anybody can do. We had no drugs, we had no really understanding of it and how it was spread. So that could be part of why she looks the way she does, and a more symbolic kind of notion that's associated with her sister. And then also, you can look at materials. And the materials here, that paper, a very large piece of paper, and I'll show you the scale of it in just a second. Paper is traditionally a more delicate material. And I think she's enhanced the delicacy of it by kind of making it look old and worn. And that might communicate the stereotype of the delicate female, or it could communicate this idea of the body being vulnerable and frail at this moment. There are a lot of options you could do. And then the space around her is the negative space is so overwhelming as well that that vulnerability kind of comes across. So it's an interesting contrast. One, you could see her as powerful because she's tamed this animal, and Kiki Smith might be embracing the delicate, the stereotypical delicate material and delicate look to a female, yet we're anything but that. Or it could be, that she's representing her sister and life and the body as being frail. I think both would work, and both can work at the same time, honestly. So here you can take a look. Sorry, it's a little bit blurry, but you can see the size and scale of these images. And it kind of confronts you, the viewer, and overwhelms you a bit with their size, and is unexpected actually with drawings and paper. You expect those to be smaller. The other thing about this that I find interesting, she's your kind of, if I had to say classical influence here, it's the nude figure for the female and also the reclining nude. Yet what she's reclining on is a bit uncertain and a bit awkward in terms of her position. Is she lying on a bed? It's kind of hard to know, or like a couch or even the floor, but what is she propped up on? That choice to not include that directly, I think, helps you focus on the woman and the wolf and their relationship and her body with that. So here's another image from Kiki Smith. I think it's called Falling, I believe, but I just love the look of this piece. I just wanted you to see another image from her. There's some other works that she's done. I wanted to show you some with color as well. So I would say for her, function and formal quality. Let's do formal quality first. You could do space, and that emphasis on negative space might help express her vulnerability, her feeling of being alone here with this animal. Maybe that's the sister being alone here with this disease. If you think of it symbolically like that. You could do thin, delicate lines, to form the figures and kind of help create that sense of the stereotype of delicacy with women, fragile, yet she's not. Function here, it could be social commentary if you look at it almost in a feminist way, where the woman is able to control and tame what would typically be the predator. And so if you think of that, you could say social commentary for sure. Is it her sister? We're not too certain. So portrait seems a bit kind of going outside the boundaries there of what we know. Some interpret it as that, but I'd rather kind of stay away from that too. So I think social commentary here is best on life, on women and their so-called fragile nature, that stereotype. The AIDS epidemic, perhaps, disease, death, all of that can be encompassed with social commentary. So again, that's Lying with the Wolf by Kiki Smith.